A1 and has been covering these stories is our very own Lucanyo Kalata, who's there at Nasrec. And Lucanyo, I'm going to hand over to you, but perhaps a question. It's been 6 days going into this gathering. There was this impetus, this energy towards radical economic transformation. And I wonder, after 6 days, has there been any dramatic policy shifts that point to an acceleration of transformation on the economic front?
Peter, good evening. I think, yeah, you're right. 6 days, lots of robust debate took place. But I think the energy kind of subsided, obviously, as the days passed. And look, I don't want to judge as to whether or not there will be an acceleration on the issues of radical economic or radical socio-economic transformation, as the ANC would like us to report. They were telling us in one of those briefings earlier this afternoon that radical economic transformation isn't really their term, but radical socio-economic transformation, that is an issue that the ANC has discussed, and not just today, but in previous both policy as well as national elective conferences. But Peter, to help me unpack a little bit what took place here at Nasrec over the last 6 days, I'm joined by Professor Susan Booysen from the Wits School of Governance. Ma'am, good evening, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Lucanyo.
Right, 6 days, a lot was packed into it. Do you think that the ANC was able to achieve or get something out of these 6 days that will help strengthen issues of unity going forward?
Well, certainly. You know, it was, like some delegate remarked to me this afternoon, at least the political school. Policy positions all over the place, yes, and lots of compromises. And they didn't want to confront some factional points of view coming in policy positions. And very often their solution for them was to put various options forward and to say that will go back to the branches, although there was a central thrust in just about all of these policy positions. So, but we have got quite a bit of consensus that this policy conference was not as definitive, as clear-cut as previous policy conferences. But previous policy conferences, one used to get a conference statement and regular handouts, briefing positions that they will be sending out to the branches. One has a sense that they try to keep that as contained as possible within the organization. But in terms of policy, at least as this delegate remarked to me, it was a political school. You bring lots of diverse people together and you make them aware of what ANC positions actually are, and you create a lot of awareness of what needs much faster implementation. And that is the second front where they have to review the policy success at this conference. How well do the policies translate into effective action in the state? And clearly there's a lot to be desired there. And this conscientizes the ANC as to the needs for much greater, more effective action. Then that will serve to function too. And of course, in the third place, the context, succession context, which is always a subtext in all of these deliberations. I think there was some movement on that front as well.
Let's talk a little bit about the issues of context and succession. One of the things that came out was that the branches will have to discuss whether or not the loser in the race for president becomes an automatic deputy president. Do you think that's feasible? Do you think that the ANC could potentially make it work? Or is this just to ply one side, one faction within the ANC, hoping that, you know, yeah.
You know, at first place, I don't think it will work, because I cannot see Cyril Ramaphosa, should he be on the ascendant, the dominant faction grouping campaign, if you want to call it at this stage, I cannot imagine. And the body language on the stage, Cyril Ramaphosa, Zweli Mkhize, and a host of others, while President Zuma was devoting almost the bulk of his speech to the issue. Certainly that body language didn't suggest that they really like that idea. And most people that I've been speaking to here, especially delegates, are quite cynical about it, what Zuma did there, and thinking that is an indication, if ever had been there had been one, that Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma's campaign is not doing that well at this stage, and they interpret it as that should Zuma here be trying to get an assured position, second deputy president, if they follow that proposal, then she would still have a position. During one of the earlier briefings yesterday, it was remarked that, yes, these positions, this kind of change in procedures for the ANC can be passed by the meeting at the National Elective Conference if there is a two-thirds majority support for that. So the constitution can be changed in that respect of the ANC, and then those new rules can immediately be applied.
All right. Ma'am, thank you very much for joining us, and thanks for being with us over the course of the 6 days.
It was my pleasure.
Thank you. That was Professor Susan Booysen from the Wits School of Governance, who was with us for the 6 days, just giving us her take on the 6 days of the ANC Policy Conference. For now, we're just going to take a quick break. We're back after this.